Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're literally shrinking down to the microscopic level to uncover the fundamental building blocks of life. If you're revising for your GCSE biology exams, or honestly just want to know how life works, you're in the exact right place. We're going to completely decode the microscopic world and help you absolutely ace those cell structure questions. Let's get into it.
So, to kick things off, I want you to think about a pretty fascinating question. What microscopic machinery separates a plant, like a massive oak tree or a tiny leaf, from an animal, like a lion or, well, even you? Now, on the outside, macroscopically, the differences are super obvious, right? But down at the cellular level, it's literally a masterclass in biological engineering. Section 1, the building blocks. Let's dive right in by examining our biological base model, the eukaryotic animal cell. Okay, so almost every single animal cell shares 5 fundamental subcellular structures. We call these organelles. And these 5 guys work together in perfect harmony to keep the cell alive, functioning, and doing its thing. Let's break them down real quick. First up, the nucleus. You can kind of think of this as the cell's highly secure vault. It's this large structure wrapped in its own membrane, and its absolute main job is to hold all your genetic material, your DNA. This genetic code is the boss. It actually controls the activities of the cell, dictating exactly what proteins need to be built and when. Next, I want you to picture a water balloon filled with a slightly watery jelly. Got it? Well, that jelly is the cytoplasm. It fills up the entire interior of the cell, and man, it is a bustling hub of activity. The cytoplasm is packed with nutrients, salts, and enzymes, making it the absolute perfect environment for most of the vital chemical reactions that keep the cell alive. Now, surrounding all that jelly is the cell membrane. This acts like the cell's strict security system at the door. It's a semi-permeable barrier, which just means it tightly controls exactly what's allowed in, like your vital oxygen and glucose, and what waste products, like carbon dioxide, are finally shown the exit. Then, oh man, we have the absolute powerhouses of the cell, the mitochondria. These tiny structures are the site of aerobic respiration. So this is a continuous exothermic chemical process where sugars, like glucose, are broken down to release energy. Without the mitochondria pumping out this energy, the cells simply couldn't survive. It's that important. Finally, to round out our base model, we've got these tiny little structures scattered all throughout the cytoplasm called ribosomes. Now, they might be small, but their role is massive. They're basically microscopic factories. This is the site of protein synthesis, which is just a fancy way of saying it's where the cell physically builds the proteins it needs to structure itself and run chemical reactions. All right, so we've got a solid grip on the animal cell, but what happens when an organism needs to, say, make its own food directly from sunlight, or stand perfectly tall without having any skeleton at all? Well, for that, we need to look at the plant cell. Which brings us to Section 2, the plant cell upgrade. Let's look at those specific features. So plant cells are eukaryotic too, meaning they contain those exact same 5 base features we just talked about. But they come with 3 totally crucial upgrades. Upgrade number 1, a rigid cell wall. Now, don't confuse this with the cell membrane. This wall is made of super tough cellulose, and it sits right outside the membrane. It provides incredible structure and strength. Actually, if a plant cell absorbs way too much water through osmosis, it's this tough cellulose wall that totally prevents the cell from swelling up and popping like a balloon. Upgrade number 2 is the permanent vacuole. This is a massive central sac that takes up a huge chunk of space inside the plant cell. It's filled with something called cell sap, which is just a weak solution of sugars and salts. And this doesn't just act as a nutrient stockpile, it's absolutely vital for maintaining the cell's turgidity. That basically means it keeps the plant cell plump, rigid, and supports the whole plant structure so it doesn't just flop over. And the final plant-exclusive upgrade? The chloroplasts. These are the ultimate food producers. Chloroplasts are the literal site of photosynthesis. Inside them, there's this green pigment called chlorophyll, which, fun fact, is exactly what gives plant leaves their bright green color. This chlorophyll soaks up light energy from the sun, and the cell uses that energy to manufacture its own food, specifically glucose. How cool is that? Moving on to Section 3, spotting the differences. Being able to quickly tell these two apart is a crucial skill for your exams. Just look at the visual contrast here. Notice the incredibly neat, rigid, almost rectangular, blocky shape of the plant cell on the right. That shape is 100% thanks to that tough outer cell wall and the outward pressure from that giant permanent vacuole. Now compare that to the animal cell over on the left. It's way more free-form, kind of blobby, and flexible, simply because it completely lacks those rigid structural upgrades. Okay, here is your definitive cheat sheet for those high-value 6-mark comparison questions. If an exam asks you to compare an animal cell and a plant cell, you can use this to clearly map out the shared base features at the top, nucleus, cytoplasm, membrane, mitochondria, ribosomes, then contrast them against the bottom 3 rows, which highlight our specific plant cell upgrades: the cell wall, the permanent vacuole, and the chloroplasts. Seriously, take a mental screenshot of this table and burn it into your memory. Section 4, beating the exam traps. Before we finish up, we really need to tackle a massive misconception.
When you're asked what the nucleus does, you must absolutely never write that the nucleus is the brain of the cell. I know it's a super popular metaphor, but examiners will flat out reject that unscientific answer. A brain is a highly complex organ made of literally billions of cells. The nucleus is just one tiny subcellular structure. It is definitely not a squidgy little pink brain floating around in the cytoplasm. Instead, you're gonna want to memorize this exact phrasing. The nucleus controls the cell because it holds the genetic code required to make the cell's proteins. If you use the words genetic material or DNA to explain how it controls things, you are going to lock in those marks every single time, for sure. As we bring this explainer to a close, I have a little challenge for you. Next time you look at a leaf outside, or even just look down at your own hand, try to picture the trillions of tiny cells working tirelessly away inside. Are you just going to see the surface anymore? Are you going to see the incredible microscopic machinery, the mitochondria firing, the ribosomes building, the chloroplast catching sunlight that literally dictates the shape and function of the entire living world? Keep that curiosity alive, keep nailing those cell structures, and I'll see you in the next explainer.